morning you guys, and welcome to today's video. It's been so long since we did a YouTube video, and honestly life just got in the way. First my holidays, then I came back. I had no time to record content and it was just such a busy month in February. Honestly, I miss talking with you guys, and because February is now finished and we are now in March, we need to do a February wrap up and prepare for our March reads. So if you are comfortable, you have a drink of choice. I have my cup of coffee right here, and without a further ado, let's get on into this video. So for our month of February, we got into a series that I wanted to start for a very long time. We didn't exactly achieve the list that I wanted, so I wanted to do this series and then start the Fey and Alchemy series by Kali Hart. We didn't get around to do the second part, which we're gonna transfer to our March section of the video. However, we did start the series Cinemas Anonymous by Sam Sketcher, and I read 3 books. So I read the first one and I read the duet. Is it a duet? Yes, it is. It's a duet. And then I'm already on the 4th one, kind of reading already, but that was in the beginning of March, so we're gonna get there. We are also reading Keeping 13, and we finished that in the end of February, first day of March, so we're gonna include actually in the February list. Starting with Sinners Anonymous, which is for book number 1 of the series. I gave this one 4.5 stars, actually 4 stars. In my Goodreads, my review was easy fun read. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Either way, it was a fun read. It was quite easy to read. The writing is very light, at the same time very fast-paced and fun to read. A good start to dark romance. Wasn't particularly gripping the story, and love the characters though. So for me, I honestly, for some reason, I was expecting more of this book. I don't know why. I think maybe because of the reviews that I saw on Book Talk and everything and the feedbacks, and I don't know, I just expected more, and it's such a hyped series for dark romance that I wanted a little bit more. I think that's the reason that kind of made me give this review. I was expecting more because I had such high hopes and high standards for that book specifically, that I don't know why, it just, I didn't feel like it quite reached my 5-star book. So I gave that one 4 stars. To be honest, her writing is quite an easy writing, and that kind of helped a lot and made it a lot more easy to get into. However, I felt like the whole time the characters are lovely, I love them, but in the beginning, until at least half the time of the book, until half, like 50% mark, I felt like I didn't know the characters enough. I felt like I didn't know their story. I felt like there was so many things missing, and everything kind of escalated to the end where you get all the surprises and everything is revealed. But at the same time, I felt like I needed more from the characters throughout the book and not just at the end. Like I said, I loved the writing. The characters were lovely at the end and you get to actually understand them, but I felt like I needed more from them. And the story, it was quite predictable. I knew that the MMC was going to do something big about her fiance, and I was expecting it, but I felt like it finished on a cliffhanger, and then the next story was not about them, it was about the next brother. So it kind of left me hanging a little bit and wanting more. Felt like it could have been a bit bigger, and then you could have more from the characters and from the story, and I would like to see that. But that was our first read of February. Up next we have Sinners Condemned, which is the second book in this series, and I give this one 4.5 stars. My review was, the yearning is yearning, give me the second part of this duet now. So I loved it. I absolutely loved this book, a lot more than the first one, but it ended on a cliffhanger, so I wanted a lot more from the characters, and then it was like, you know what, actually, you're gonna have to wait for the next book. I already had the next book, so that was not the whole point. However, I loved it. I loved their dynamic. I felt like you knew so much more about the characters from the start, even though you had a lot of secrets to the main characters, and then it kind of got slightly revealed at the end because it was a duet. So the first and the second and the third book are a duet. So I was excited about that because I felt I have more story to go on then, because obviously it was not finished, and I absolutely love that. I'm not gonna lie, I was all in. I love Raphael. I loved Penny. I honestly did. In her story, and she was so cunning. I absolutely loved her character. She was also so fun and so sassy. Honestly, I loved it. So I gave that one 4.5 stars, and I loved it so much more than the first book. And I thought, you know what, I'm actually getting the hang of it and getting kind of the hang of the whole family, and you know, getting to know the characters. So I was excited about book number 3, which is Sinners Consumed. And then on this one, again, I had such high expectations, and I felt like I needed more because we had such a good second book, which is the first part of the duet. And I was like, okay, so give me more, because now I'm invested. Now I'm all in and I need more. So for the third book, which is Sinners Consumed, my review was 4 stars, and my written review was expected more. Don't get me wrong, it was a very entertaining, but it simply didn't felt very repetitive. Would have liked to see more diversity. So basically, I felt like the first book was really good. You had really good 2 main characters. They had so much personality to them and so much story to tell. And then it kind of developed on the first part of the duet, and I loved it, and it was really good, and you could see their characteristics and, you know, how their traits are and things that they love, and how their relationship goes from a very enemies and tumultuous relationship to lovers and friends and, you know, admiration. But then you get to the second book, and it felt very repetitive. It felt like you were on the same page over and over and over again, as in same page as an analogy to, you know, relationship wise, like they are always on the same thing, repeating the same things, fighting about the same things. And honestly, I almost DNF'd it. I was really bored. I could not get to the end, and that was really sad because honestly, I loved it. I loved the characters and I wanted to know more. And then at the end, there was not a bigger plot twist. It was kind of very expected and very predictable, just like the other 3 books. And then it was very repetitive, and at the end happened, and the hand was like ending. It was nice, it was cute, it was lovely, I liked it. But I don't know. I felt like it needed more. For a dark romance with this kind of hype, I felt like it needed more. Don't get me wrong, I love the series. It's still for me a 4-star series, and I haven't finished the last one. But I felt like I needed a bit more, if that makes sense. So we'll see. I'm already on book number 4. Hopefully we'll talk a little about it in the next part of the video. So we'll see. Our vacation's finished and we came back home, and finally we were reunited with Boys of Torment. We were almost finishing this book. The last time I picked it up, it was probably this little bit left. So I finished it at the end, the first day of March. So we're gonna count it for the February count. So technically we read 4 books. And honestly, 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book, and I was so happy that I was finally reunited with Boys of Torment and Johnny and Shannon. So let's see what our review was. So we finished this one. Obviously it was a 5-star read, absolutely no doubt there. And my review was, can someone please send help? This was soul wrecking. I sobbed so hard that I thought I was going to dehydrate. And honestly, that is probably the best way to summarize my whole feelings about this book. I tapped the life out of this book, and I'm not even ashamed to show it, because honestly, first of all, it looks really aesthetic. Second of all, I'm gonna want to relive the moments in this book so much, and I'm glad that I topped every single thing that I like and every single thing that meant something to me. Honestly, I don't know, I cried on the first book. Towards the end I did cry. This one, I started crying on the first chapter, and then I just kept going and then going and going and crying and crying. When you get to the end, and you know, if you know, you know, the accident happened in their family and all of that, I sobbed. I sobbed so hard. It should honestly be illegal because that is not normal. That amount of tears that I cried in this book, it cannot be normal, and that is a scary thought. Because what you mean, I sobbed for hours on end because of a book. What do you mean? That's not even right? Honestly, it was that good. It was that good, and it just touches your heart. The problems and the things that I mentioned in this book just touch your heart. I don't know how to explain it. It's absolutely soul wrecking. I just heartbreaking. And then at the end, everything kind of turns out alright, and I love the ending, don't get me wrong, but I thought we could see like a few years in the future and, you know, how their life is, how did they have kids, did they move in together, did she become a vet, you know, all of the things I wanted to be in this book, but it isn't. It just finished like it should. To be honest, I felt like if the ending was like how the writers wanted, it would not be the story that it is. It finished where it should. It finished on the right point of their story. It finished exactly like their characters needed to finish. It's so they can live as teenagers, and that is amazing that she stopped and said, this is it, this is the end. For the end, I'm gonna give them the life that they should have lived. Johnny because of all the rugby stuff, and Shannon because she had to grow up too fast. And you know, at the end it's not a perspective to their future, because it's not about that. It's about the fact that they are still teenagers, they are still children, and they get to live that, so the reader doesn't really necessarily need to look into the future and see the future of the characters, because the future is now, and what they need as characters is to live their teenage years. And I love that, absolutely love that. I love how Chloe absolutely wrote this story. I am utterly obsessed with this book, and I would recommend this book 100 times or more a day if I could, because honestly it is that good, and I'm gonna keep it forever in my heart, and I'm gonna love this book and these characters for the rest of my life. And I'm so happy that we actually got here, and I'm so happy that we got to read Boys of Torment this year. For our second part of this video, we're gonna talk about the March TBR, to be honest, and that is quite shocking. It was just February yesterday, and on the day before it was just January. We are already in 2026 and we're already in March, and that's really scary. However, we do have a good TBR, so I'm super excited to read this month. I feel like I finally got the hang of it and I can start reading books. I felt like January and February had so many things happening in my life that honestly I couldn't read enough, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's a weird feeling. You have so many things happening in your life, at your job, in your relationship, in your house, vacations and work and everything, and sometimes the time just slips away. So for March we're gonna read some quite interesting books. So first of all, we're gonna keep reading Boys of Torment. This is 76, and this story is about Joey and Efe. I think that's how you pronounce it. I mean, in my head it's gonna be Ioi for the rest of my life, but I know that's not the correct way to pronounce the Irish name. However, I'm not Irish. English is not even my first language, so in my head nothing sounds right, just so you know, but maybe I'll do a video about that. Either way, we're gonna read Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. This is Boys of Torment, book number 3, and I'm honestly super excited. We're gonna start it today, and he's probably one of the characters that I want to read about the most, him and Gypsy. I think Gypsy is the one that I wanted to know the story. I honestly want, especially after the ending in Keeping 13, I really want to know the story. But at the same time, I love Joey, and I love Joey's character throughout